Thank you.
Done. Thank you.
I'll start over. This is Mayor Shave. It is Tuesday, December 22nd, 2020 at 7:29 p.m. and I call a council meeting to order. If was any public comment, the public comment period is included during the Zoom video meetings. The public was notified that if they wish to speak during the meeting, an email would be sent to Patricia Soul, City Clerk, and indicate if they would like to speak or have the clerk read the document. If they desire to comment live, they will be called on during the meeting and allowed to speak for 3 minutes. Written comments will be provided to before the meeting, have been provided to the city council members and will be read into the record up to the current 3-minute time limit. City Clerk Soul, could you please take a roll call?
Mayor, do you want me to read the public comment?
No.
Not just yet.
Okay, sorry. All right, I'll take a roll call. Councilmember Andrews,
Here.
Councilmember Ellis,
Yes.
Councilmember Francie,
Here.
Councilmember Gordon,
Here.
Councilmember Haviland,
Here.
Councilmember Koshman,
Here.
Councilmember Kennedy,
Present.
Councilmember Mackey,
Here.
Councilmember Richrod,
Here.
Councilmember Ross,
Here.
Council President Shaw,
Here.
Councilmember Short,
Here.
Mayor Shave,
Here.
all are present.
Thank you. Council President, yes, go ahead.
Mayor Shave, I would move that we adopt the minutes of the previous meeting.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt the minutes of the previous meeting. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. The previous minutes have been adopted. Thank you. Are there any additions or deletions?
I have
Shave.
additions.
Nathan? Councilmember
you.
Kennedy, I should say.
Thank you. For Public Works, I have 2 reports and 1 resolution to add to the agenda.
Okay.
And Mayor Shave,
Councilmember Ross?
the Finance Department has a report from the Ad hoc COVID-19 Relief Committee that we'd like to add to our Finance Committee agenda.
Okay. Is there a motion to add these to the agenda?
I so move.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to add these reports and 1 resolution to the agenda. Any further discussion?
So we're adding them all together as a group?
Yes.
Different?
Under discussion, if there's any issues with any one of them that you wish to discuss. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Okay, now public comment period. Patricia, do you have any notices of public comment? I could read this, so it's on the. Says, hi, this is James. Oh, now I can't.
No, sorry. I thought I had unmuted, so I was talking to myself. Let me
Oh,
start talking to y'all. Okay. So this is from James Portnow. He is from the 4th Ward. There's been something that's been distressing me a bit. Over and over, I keep seeing people go up to the Safeway pharmacy counter without masks on. I'm not a huge stickler about these things, but that's where literally half the vulnerable population of our town goes to get their medications. I spoke to the pharmacy staff and the store manager, and both of them said there was nothing they could do. They had no way of enforcing the masks law. I'd like to see the town be able to open up as soon as possible with as few of our neighbors having to suffer through COVID as possible. Is there manpower to send an officer just to stand by the door and tell people they have to get masks? If people don't have masks on them, Safeway said they have them on hand and are willing to provide them to people upon entering the store. And that was the one and only comment.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Councilmember Ross, and we go to the Finance Committee.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Shea. So the Finance Committee met this evening at 6 o'clock via Zoom, and we had discussion we have several items on the agenda tonight. So we reviewed all of those, and we'll get started here. Our first item of business is the approval of the expenditures and payroll. So I move that we approve the expenditures and payroll.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to approve the expenditures and payroll. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote, please.
Okay. So the motion on the table to be voted on is to approve accounts payable in the total amount of $835,933.06 and payroll in the total amount of $90,115.93. Checks number 25008 through 25009 and 71355 through 71535 and wires 1230 and 1232. The roll call. Councilmember Andrews.
Yes.
Councilmember Ellis.
Yes.
Councilmember Francie.
Yes.
Councilmember Gordon.
Yes.
Councilmember Haviland.
Yes.
Councilmember Koshman.
Yes.
Councilmember Kennedy.
Yes.
Councilmember Mackey.
Yes.
Councilmember Richrod.
Yes.
Councilmember Ross.
Yes,
Council President Shaw.
Yes.
Councilmember Short.
Yes.
It's a unanimous vote.
thank you. Moving on to reports. We have a report from Finance and the Finance Director recommending that City Council shall approve staff's plan to complete the service agreement with the State Department of Revenue and proceed with implementation of the BLS partnership in May 2021. I move we adopt this report.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to adopt this report. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The report is adopted.
Our second report this evening is from Finance and the Parks Director, recommending that the City Council accept the proposal from Cascade Recreation, Inc. and authorize the mayor to negotiate and sign a contract for new playground equipment and expansion of the playground area at Garley Park. I move we adopt this report.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Love you.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The report is adopted.
Okay. Our third report this evening is from Finance and the Parks Director, recommending that the City Council accept the recommendations of the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee and authorize the mayor to enter into individual contracts with the above organizations for the disbursements of the 2021 lodging tax funds. I move we adopt this report.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion?
Mayor,
I would
should-
just like to note before with your questions. We typically budget 65,000 for the LTAC funds. In 2020, there was a number of organizations who were unable to use the funds that they were awarded because of COVID, and they didn't hold their events. So there was some extra money, and I have that amount here. There was about, 34,600 that was unused in 2020. It cannot be carried over to that organization. So our committee agreed and approved adding that to this year's $65,000 so that we could fully fund all of the requests. And the total request this year came to, where is it? It was
97,400.
That's right, 97,400. Thank you, Mayor Shea. So I just would like to, I'm hoping that we will pass this because we've got some requests this year that are one time or new, and I think they're all really, really good, good asks. So I would encourage you to adopt it.
Thank you. Tawny?
I just need to say that I need to recuse myself from this vote as I am involved with both the Aberdeen Art Walk and the Aberdeen Founders Day. So.
Okay. Anybody else? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. And Tawny did not vote. She recused herself. I saw her.
Thank you. Moving on to our next report from Finance and the Community Development Director, recommending that the City Council authorize the mayor to sign the consolidated community application with Grace Harbor County to be submitted to the Washington State Department of Commerce. I move we adopt this report.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. The report is adopted.
Okay, we have one more report that was added this evening. And this is a recommendation for funding for small business grants related to COVID-19 business loss. And I'm going to read this a little bit more in full. The mayor at the August 12, 2020 City Council meeting appointed 5 members of the City Council to serve on an ad hoc committee established to review applications for the CRF small business grants. The committee has continued to meet to discuss the possibility of creating a small business grant to help Aberdeen businesses weather the continued business disruptions caused by the 2020 pandemic called COVID-19. This has been an extremely difficult and heart-wrenching challenge, but one the committee believes has a path forward to providing much needed assistance. The city was awarded $759,600 in CARES funding in 2020. This money was used to assist the city in all things COVID, including assisting small businesses. The City Council authorized $200,000 of this funding to be used to assist small businesses that have been impacted from this pandemic. The city was able to award $114,023.52 in small business assistance. The remainder of the CARES money was used to help pay for the extension of tassel, reimbursement of city expense due to COVID, and to help offset public safety wages related to COVID. As a result of the reduced spending in the general fund that was achieved from the reimbursement of expenses in public safety, the ad hoc committee is recommending that the city set aside up to $100,000 to be used to create a grant program aimed at helping our small businesses. And we designated that as with 10 FTA or less that have been impacted with continued closures related to this pandemic. Therefore, it is recommended that the City Council authorize the mayor to fund a small business grant program with up to $100,000 as a result of the reduced spending in public safety. I move we adopt this report.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion?
This is Councilmember Ellis.
Yes,
Would you be using criteria that were used for previous grant programs, or will you come up with different criteria?
That is something we plan to review. I don't think we may have to be quite as strict as we were with the COVID relief. But we'll be further discussing that and seek the guidance of our corporation counsel.
any other discussion?
I have just a quick comment.
Nathan Kennedy.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to mention, sometimes these reports come in and they're read fairly quick. There has been a lot of work by our city staff and the members of the ad hoc committee to get this to where it is right now. And we have been literally pulling our hair trying to find ways that we can help our local businesses. We feel this is very important. And hopefully we can move forward with this and get everybody some help.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Councilmember Katzman.
Yeah, just under discussion. I'm sure we all know this, but we have so many small businesses that have been greatly impacted this year. Our restaurants and other establishments are limited to takeout only. We have other establishments like gyms, theaters, bowling alleys that have basically had to shut down because of statewide mandates. And the small business community is the lifeblood of Aberdeen, and I really hope that we can support this. I know that as a council, we were all very passionate about giving out grants when the CARES money was available, and that it just didn't fit for all of our small businesses to qualify. So I hope we can revamp something and have a small business grant program that is funded by the city of Aberdeen.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments?
Without belaboring the point, Mayor Shea,
Yes.
without belaboring the point, I just want to thank Councilman Kennedy and Councilmember Cashman for their comments.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. The report is adopted.
Thank you. Moving on to ordinances. Tonight is the third reading and adoption of Bill number 20-05, an ordinance relating to the disposition of surplus real property, adding a new chapter 3.110, disposition of surplus real property, continued. Motion to, and then there was just that note that we continued this for the last two meetings. Anyway, I move we adopt, or I move that we pass this ordinance.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to pass the ordinance. Is there any discussion?
Just a quick
Just the first
thank you to staff for getting this in the final form that we were looking for. So everyone totally understood the minor changes that were made. Appreciate it.
And
Thank
under
you.
discussion, does there need to be a formal amendment to acknowledge the changes that were made?
Oh, I don't know. Help.
Oh, third reading.
Patrice.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is Patrice Kent, Corporation Counsel. I will request from Community Development Director Lisa Scott that I believe that yes, there is a need to formally enter the amendment unless it was entered at the second reading.
Don't believe it was.
I don't think it
So,
was.
Mayor Shea, I recollect, because I know that both Director Scott and Corporation Counsel weren't at the meeting, but we referred back to committee, so there was no motion on the floor at the time. So an amendment to adopt as amended probably would be more in order. And I so move.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to pass the third reading as amended. Is there any further discussion? This is a roll
Mayor,
call vote.
can I get a rereading amendment because it broke up really bad and I got nearly none of it.
You're breaking up.
Who got broke up?
Alan.
Well, Deanne and Patrice, I didn't hear anything Patrice said.
Patrice said that we have to acknowledge that the third reading has been amended and that we're going to pass, we're voting on an amended ordinance.
Oh, all right.
And the text of the amendments should be read into the record if they were not earlier read into the record.
Oh gosh, maybe I can look that up. I'm looking. Oh gosh.
If it was not, I can probably find the amended language and will provide that if requested.
So this is Community Development Director Lisa Scott. And I can tell you that the amended documents were attached and part of the agenda. Do you specifically need all of the changes read into the record, or will the documents that were provided in the council agenda packet suffice?
The documents provided will suffice.
I was asking.
Generally, the amendments are read into the record so that the public is aware and we have an administrative record of what the amendments were, a formal administrative record.
Patrice is correct. That was the point of order I was going to make.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't print off all of the changes, so I don't have them handy.
I have it. Would somebody like me to read it?
Thank you.
Only the changes, right?
All of the amendments by paragraph and section. So you are reading it as a motion to amend it as follows.
Okay, so a motion to amend section 3.110.020 review of city real property in section A to strike the last 4 words within a reasonable time frame. That is number 1. Am I doing this correctly so far?
Yes.
Okay. Let me find the next one. Go up. Section 3.110.030 Real Estate Review Committee Report. Section B4. Add the words after, it would be the 3rd row, if a city department, add the words or the mayor expresses interest in using the property. So add the 3 words or the mayor to that sentence. Did I read that sentence in its entirety?
For context, yes, generally that's done.
Okay. If a city department or the mayor expresses interest in using the property, that the department must present a written explanation to the RERC for inclusion in its recommendation report, or the department's interest, its intended use, timeline, and operational and financial rationale for maintaining city ownership of the property for use by the interested department. In that same section, however, B5, I'm going to read B5 as amended, and it would read: the RERC's report must describe the efforts made by the RERC to obtain input from and consultation with city staff, members of the community, including public testimony at city council workshops or public meetings, and other stakeholder groups that may have developed ideas on repurposing the subject property. Then okay, in section 8.110.040, allowable methods of property disposition, amend A dot 4 to add the words community members. So it would read, properties for which there is a strong community interest as expressed by local businesses, schools, community members, and other community organizations. And the next amendment is that same section. So is it Roman numeral I and then letter I? Adding letter I to read interdepartmental disposition of real property does not require city council authorization. And then in section 3.110.050, council action on disposition, B1, amend that section to read, accept the recommendations as presented, pass a resolution determining the subject property to be surplus and authorizing the city to dispose of the property as set forth in the RERC recommendation report. And directly below that, section 2, amending it to read, modify the RERC report recommendations, declare the surplus property to, declare the property surplus by resolution and authorizing the city to dispose of the property as set forth in the modified RERC recommendations. And I believe that is it, but I thought severance was listed incorrectly on 3.110.060. It should read severance rather than, did it read severability before?
Severability is what it says here.
It should read severability and not severance.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you, Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you.
I'll second your motion for amendment.
There's motion to amend the ordinance. Right, where am I? And seconded. All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed? The motion, the motion passes. Now, I'll accept the motion to adopt, to pass the ordinance.
I move we adopt ordinance, bill number 20-05.
Second.
As
Motion was,
amended.
motion was
As
made
amended.
and seconded to adopt the amended ordinance. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, this will be a roll call vote.
Councilmember Andrews,
Yes.
Councilmember Ellis,
Yes.
Councilmember Francie,
Yes.
Councilmember Gordon,
Yes.
Councilmember Howland,
Yes.
Councilmember Koshman,
Yes.
Councilmember Mackey,
Yes.
Councilmember
Kennedy?
Kennedy, yeah. That's
Yes.
Sorry. Councilmember Richrod,
Aye.
Councilmember Ross,
Yes.
Council President Shaw,
Yes.
Councilmember Short.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, ordinance 6666 is the ordinance number for the record.
Oh, it's for the record, all right. Okay.
And thank you. Moving on to our second item under ordinances. This is the first reading of Bill number 20-09, an ordinance adopting the supplemental budget to change the 2020 appropriations and expenditures as specified herein. I move we adopt this ordinance, or the first reading of this ordinance.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt the first reading of this ordinance. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The first reading is adopted. And
Okay,
And we will be meeting next week at our regularly scheduled council meeting because we have to pass this supplemental budget.
Mayor Shea,
Yes,
I think we already determined that if we were going to meet next week, it was going to be on Tuesday.
okay.
Yes.
That's why I kind of said that in a questioning manner. I knew somebody would correct me. So thank you. So next Tuesday will be the 29th,
Mm-hmm.
and we will meet on that time at that date at the regular time, if that's correct with everybody. And try to adopt this supplemental budget. Okay, thank you.
okay. One more item this evening, Mayor Shave. This is the third reading and adoption of Bill number 20-07, an ordinance adopting the 2021 annual budget for the city of Aberdeen, Grays Harbor County, state of Washington. I move we adopt this ordinance.
Second.
Motion was made to approve of the third reading of the 2021 annual budget. Is there any discussion? Seeing none?
Okay. Mayor Shea,
Yes.
I would like to offer an amendment to Fund 001 current expense. And I would like to have the fire insurance portion be increased to $19 million by reducing the ending cash by $1,028,109.
Could you repeat that because you kind of broke up?
I'm sorry, I will try and stop my video so that I can make the motion, okay?
Okay.
I would like to offer an amendment to increase the fire insurance portion to $19 million by reducing ending cash in Fund 001 current expense by $1,028,109.
I'll second.
Motion was made and seconded
Mayor
to
Shea?
amend the budget.
Mayor Shea,
Yes.
for the purpose of discussion, I'd just like to share that the intent is to keep our insurance proceeds as high as possible. And since it looks as so that we're not reducing that fund, that amount of the settlement, and it goes with that, since it's remaining in current expense, if by some, if we're not able to tighten the gap in our general fund spending next year. With that money is still there, but by not earmarking it, it won't get spent without the council agreeing to let that fund go below 19 million.
Patrice.
Yes, sir.
I mean, Patricia, sorry.
All right, thank you.
I wonder
I was confused for a minute.
So 001 has all of the cash in it, general fund. To restrict that funding, a cleaner way would be to do an ordinance to actually restrict it for a purpose and then have it there in the language on how you can unrestrict it. That's just a suggestion. And 19 million may or may not let us to get all of the funds that are in the hole out of the hole. So just two things that I wanted to point out.
Okay, any further discussion?
Doesn't
I
an
did.
ordinance take, what, three meetings to pass?
This is the third reading of this.
But if she offers a new one,
If you amend it,
The amendment could come forward with this
yes,
ordinance. However, what Finance Director Sol is recommending for the process is to restrict the funds using a separate ordinance. That ordinance would have to be developed and would have its first reading at next week's agenda, or at next week's meeting, if that were the will of the council.
And from what I've understood or heard at some of these meetings, I thought there was going to be an ad hoc committee that would make that determination. So again, that's council's decision.
But I think, may I speak? Sorry.
yes, Councilmember Ross.
I think what Council President Shaw's wanting to recommend is that we work hard to keep that number as high as possible that we want to set aside. And she's suggesting we set it at 19 million and reduce the reserve cash fund. So I guess that part, actually setting those funds aside permanently, would be something that would happen next year anyway, correct?
I confess, I thought that this, when we were clicking through cells and spreadsheets and everything, I was taking notes and I came up with my number based on what I thought emerged from our workshop last week. If I'm now being told that this number wouldn't cover our, the supplemental, then that wasn't my intent. My intent is to make sure that our budget deficit in the general fund is covered to the largest extent possible by cash reserves, and that if we're going to use the insurance proceeds, that it be an intentional thing that the council decides, not just because, and that we look for alternatives before we do it, not just because we budgeted at the beginning of the year and it's there. So if I would be willing to withdraw my motion if there's an understanding that we will be coming back with a more carefully calculated proposal, working more closely with Director Sol.
Finance Director Sol.
And I absolutely think that's a great idea, Council President Shaw, where there can be some careful consideration and you guys can set a number that you restrict with your language, with the language on how it can be removed from the restriction. That way it's clear and it won't be touched unless there is action by council. But I think that we should sit down and talk through those numbers. My recommendation.
Well, I think it's pretty clear we're not going to burn through the whole thing the first quarter of the year. I just wanted to kind of force a conversation and be intentional, and may not have done it in the most elegant way. But I think that the council has a desire to really, really carefully manage and be very aware of what's going on with that bottom line in that fund.
Patrice, if I could ask you a question.
Patricia or Patrice?
Patrice, I'm just curious on the legality of it. If we were to turn tonight into a motion to develop that ordinance, would that be a third reading type of ordinance that we'd be looking at needing to pass?
Mhm.
Okay. And then would it need to be passed really early next year, or what would the timeline look like?
So with respect to an ordinance, any ordinance would be this evening. If there was the amendment offered that is seeking prospective ordinance, that really does not, and frankly should not be in my opinion, should not be connected to the budget proposal, because the budget proposal has to be passed in its final form by the end of the year. So acknowledging what funds are available next year, then I would be happy to work with Director Soul on what the legalities of that are. But that money does exist. If there are other revenues that are identified after the first of the year, then we could certainly work with that. But my legal recommendation is leave the budget ordinance alone and take a good hard look at what revenues or reserves are in place already, and develop that for 3 readings starting. We could start it in January. As you are aware, it takes at least 2 and preferably 3 meetings to have that, but we could have a reserve ordinance in place by the end of February.
Mayor Shea?
Yes.
Unless, and I know I've had my allotted times to speak, but I would just clarify that we don't even know yet, council, that an ordinance is how we want to earmark these funds. So I wouldn't get married quite yet to an ordinance. It might not do what we want. We need to figure out what we want to do. And so let's not hang our hat on ordinance yet, and let's just hang our hat on looking really closely in the first quarter of the year and coming back with something to talk about on what we want to do to make sure that however that money is used is intentional and the council's very informed every step of the way.
We had the similar conversation in the finance committee meeting already tonight. Just so noted. Okay, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
What are we voting on, Pete?
The third reading of the 2021 budget.
Okay, and nothing to do with her amendment.
Correct.
I withdrew it.
Okay,
There
the
was
second
no
agrees.
If Alan has a question or if he's doing jumping jacks over there.
He's moving extraneously. It has nothing to do with the question.
Okay. City Clerk Soul, will you do a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Andrews,
Yes.
Councilmember Ellis,
Yes.
Councilmember Francie,
Yes.
Councilmember Gordon,
Yes.
Councilmember Haviland,
Yes.
Councilmember Koshman,
Yes.
Councilmember Kennedy,
Yes.
Councilmember Mackey,
Yes.
Councilmember Richrod,
Aye.
Councilmember Ross,
Yes.
Council President Shaw,
Yes.
Councilmember Short,
Yes.
unanimous approval for ordinance number 6667 for the record.
Thank you.
And thank you, Mayor Shea. That's it for Finance Committee this evening.
Well, you took the whole evening.
I know. It was a long one tonight.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Ross.
Pete,
Public Works.
Can
Say
I, for matter of personal information or whatever, what is steaming behind your left shoulder? It's bugging me.
These things, yeah.
Looks like an essential oil diffuser.
It's an oil diffuser.
Okay.
Don't call the fire chief.
It's spewing Christmas smells.
Oh, good. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
All right.
Big Christmas smells. That's great.
Public Works Chair Kennedy.
Thank you, Mayor Shave. And just for the record, those diffusers, they use water, so there's usually not a big fire hazard, which
Until
is
they
nice,
die
especially
out.
for offices. Anyhow, Public Works Committee met today at 4:10 p.m. We had a little bit of a late start. We had a couple of additions that Chris Koski brought in. They're pretty time sensitive to help get some projects underway. We had some good discussion over them, and got our work done. So I'll just move right into it, and let's see if I can make this work right this time. Okay, so starting with, we have a report from Public Works and the Public Works Director recommending the mayor shall be authorized to sign an agreement with SCJ Alliance for the PE phase of the US 101 Safety Improvement Project in the amount of $255,857.90. I move that we adopt this report.
Francie, second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion?
Under discussion, this is something that came about from former council member Kathy Prieto. She brought it up a while back, and it's been worked on, and it's finally starting to move forward.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of this report, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the report is adopted.
Okay. Next, we have a report from Public Works and the Public Works Director recommending the Public Works Director shall be authorized to execute supplemental agreement number 9 for the North Shore Levee project. I move that we adopt this report.
Francie, second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion?
What is it saying or doing?
So let's see here. We don't have Chris on here. This is basically authorizing, it's needed for,
It's a right-of-way agreement.
oh, yeah, what this is it's needed to move the application process forward, is what Chris was explaining to us. Rick, do you have a little bit better of an explanation than what I wrote down?
I don't know if he's muted, but I can recall from the meeting earlier today.
Sorry about that. I was muted and talking away. Anyway, so this is the North Shore Levee KPFF contract. What we had was an amendment process where we awarded big chunks of work and huge amendments. And what we found out is that it was not as efficient as we would have liked. So we've gone to a task order system where we're canceling the amendments. It's actually canceling more money than we're awarding. So we're canceling the amendments and we're issuing task orders as we move forward in smaller increments so that we can better direct the work and have our consultants under contract and be readily able to award work to other consultants that might have time or might be experts in the subject matter.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The report is adopted.
Okay. And next we have a report from Public Works and the Public Works Director recommending the City Council shall pass a resolution designating the City Engineer and the Public Works Director as applicant agents for the City of Aberdeen's 2020 application for the FEMA BRIC grant funding.
Francie,
I
second.
moved that we adopt this report.
Well, motion was made and seconded to adopt this report.
Mix it up.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The report is adopted.
All right. All right, moving on to resolutions. We have a resolution designating the city engineer and the public works director as applicant agents for the city of Aberdeen's 2020 application for FEMA brick grant funding. I move that we pass this resolution. We'll let you on the
Francie,
wording
second.
for resolution still.
Motion was made and seconded to approve the resolution. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The resolution is approved.
Thank you very much. And that is all from Public Works.
Thank you, Councilmember Kennedy.
Mayor? So
Yes.
that was a past resolution, resolution 2020-24. And that was just one resolution or two?
One.
Okay, 20-24 for the record.
Thank you. Okay, Public Safety Chair Andrews.
You have to unmute yourself first. Okay, hold on. I was just talking away.
I think that's the quote for 2021. You're on mute.
You're on mute. And can you hear me now? All right. Whoa. Okay. So let's see. We have the Aberdeen Police Department report tonight. Except it's freaking out. Okay. That is weird. I froze. Hold on. We'll just stop doing that, I guess. So we met this evening and we met with the Aberdeen and the fire department. So we have on both agenda items this evening, we have their consultant selections. So we'll get to those in a moment. And Police Chief Shoemate reported that the VIPs provided 47.5 hours of time during the month of November. So that's great. And I know we're all very excited to get back out there and patrol once everything calms down with the whole COVID thing. And you guys all probably saw the police report that on December 20th, the Aberdeen police officers were dispatched to a report of the burglary in progress. And our police dog Ronan searched the resident and apprehended a 28-year-old suspect. So yay, Ronan. Love our police dog.
An extra bone.
I know. Hopefully you got an extra bone that night. And then for the fire department, so we also have an agenda item. And you guys might remember that back in June, our ambulance got in a little fender bender and they took the box off the back basically. And then we remounted it onto a new chassis because the other chassis got too damaged. And the police chief and one of his crew are going to go pick that up tomorrow. And the cost of the remount is shared between the insurance company and the fire department's ERR fund. And then also you guys may have seen the Daily World article that on January 2020, the Grace Harbor EMS and Trauma Care Center will no longer be funded. So this is a pretty big hit. You guys have heard about it, I'm sure. The transit could no longer provide money for this council, and it was about $220,000 a year, and it's going to highly impact some training of our emergency EMS personnel. They are looking for other sources of funding, so if anybody has $220,000 laying around, we gotta, there's an address you can send that donation to, or if you know of other funding sources, reach out to them, because that is a very big loss to our community not to have that in place. So on our agenda this evening, we have 3 items. So the first item is a report from Public Safety and the Community Development Director recommending that the City Council authorize the mayor to enter into contract negotiations with TCA for a space needs assessment and development of a building program for the Aberdeen Fire Department. I move we accept this report.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Other than yay?
It was a good start.
Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Motion is carried. The report is adopted.
And on the flip side, we have the report from Public Safety and the Community Development Director recommending that the City Council authorize the mayor to enter into contract negotiation with Coates Design Team for a space needs assessment and development of a building program for the Aberdeen Police Department, jail and court facilities. I move we accept this report.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Other than, gotta give me more time. Yay. Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. The report is adopted.
We don't have any resolutions, but we do have an ordinance. We have the second reading and public hearing of bill number 20-08, an ordinance amending Aberdeen Municipal Code 2.60.040.G.1, the City of Aberdeen Park Code regarding animal control in parks. I move we open the public hearing.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to open the public hearing. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? The public hearing is opened. Is there any one online wanted to just be on the public hearing on this? Patricia?
Let me take a look at the participants, see if anybody has their hands up. Nope, nobody has their hands up.
Okay.
All right, I make a motion we close the public hearing.
Second.
A motion was made and seconded to close public hearings. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing is closed.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the second hearing of, the second reading of bill number 20-08, an ordinance amending Aberdeen Municipal Code 2.60.040.G.1, City of Aberdeen Park Code regarding animal control in parks.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to approve the second reading of this ordinance. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The second reading has been approved.
Oh, the only last thing is I realized that I failed to mention was that there was a giving tree in the Aberdeen Police Department lobby, and I saw pictures online and through communications with the VIPs that was very successful and those presents were delivered. And so we'd like to thank everybody for their donations to that program. And that's it for public safety.
Thank you. Council President Shaw, do we have any special agenda items?
Thank you, Mayor Shea. We don't have any public hearings under special agenda items, but we do have an item from the ad hoc committee on the Gateway Center. And just as a reminder, since we just adopted a pretty tight budget, it's not in this, I'll remind the council that this contract uses money awarded to us by the legislature to come up with a shovel-ready project. So we have a report from the ad hoc committee on the Gateway Center recommending that the city council authorize the mayor to execute a contract amendment as presented in the amount of $321,646, not to exceed a total contract amount of $1,423,306 and aligned with the original feasibility study to the extent possible. The total contract amount includes both the base contract for services and the additional services design elements. It is further recommended that the ad hoc committee reconvene for review prior to final plans being presented to the council for approval in June 2021. I move we adopt this report.
Second, Ellis.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion?
Mayor Shave?
Yes.
Since this was a late addition to the agenda, with the council's indulgence, I would just like to share my screen so that if those who are new to this project can see the scope of the work and the level of involvement taking place in our community to try and bring it to us. Let's see. So I would just share that, we met 4 times, 4 Mondays in a row. And the council members who volunteered to serve were Tawny Andrews, Liz Ellis, Katie Cashman, Alan Richrod, Deborah Ross, and myself, with staff support from Lisa Scott. Matthew Coates was at all of our meetings, as was his staff. And importantly, we had stakeholders participating to help come up with this recommendation, and they included Betty Worth, Bobby Stuffleby McCracken, and Carrie Bozeman, who were part of the original founders that helped bring this idea to the legislature from the get-go. In addition, we had representatives from the museum, and Mayor Shave also attended. I think I mentioned we met 4 times. The consensus that emerged is to use the most recent architectural plans, but to configure the interior spaces, as we said in our motion, to more closely align with the original feasibility study. This does represent an amount, an increase in the contract from Coates, but it captures 2 things. It captures recognizing the additional work he did for us when we were trying to figure out some new and different things, but also part of this recognizes that there are some new building codes coming out that we need to take into consideration as we come up with a final set of plans. And if this is approved tonight, by June of 2021, we will be shovel ready and in a position to seek additional funding to actually do that again will be the council's ultimate. And with that, I give it back to the mayor.
Thank you, Council President Shaw. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of this report, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The report is adopted. Next on the agenda is council comments. Are there any council comments? Councilmember Kennedy.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I would actually like to use part of my comment time to respond to the public comment we had earlier. And I hear you that it's really frustrating to walk through some of these bigger stores, especially around here, and see people unmasked and not following the rules. I can say that I've been to other areas, like in Olympia and bigger stores there, and they are being enforced. So it is really up to the store to enforce those rules. And I think that we need to, really push on the management for those stores to have them enforce the policies that are going to ultimately help keep us safe and get us out of this pandemic and back to normal. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. Anyone else? Councilmember Andrews.
You mentioned Bill and Colleen Simpson, and on Facebook, Colleen did mention that Bill would like to receive some cards, that she would like people to send cards. So I got the address so we could share it. So it's Bill Simpson, PO Box 126, Cosmopolis 98537.
What was the address one more time?
PO Box 126, Cosmopolis 98537. And I'm sure that he would appreciate, or they would appreciate, any Christmas cards or little things that you can, little cards of encouragement you could send them right now.
Very good. Thank you, Tawny.
Yes.
Anyone else? Councilmember Ellis.
I'd like to comment also on COVID. It's ravaged so many communities, including ours, in ways that has caused harm on so many levels, that that normal that we experienced a year ago seems so far away now. And I know that I am suffering from COVID fatigue. Emotionally, I just want to gravitate to being close to my neighbors and going back to activities that I could do before all of this. But we've got to hunker down and keep on wearing masks and keeping that social distance of at least 6 feet. We've got to hold it together so that we can all be here after this holiday season to be able to get our shots and vaccines and be able to count on returning to some of those times that we have held so dear, even going back to school, for goodness sakes. But we need to pull together. We got to do this together. And I know I've seen some concerning behaviors in Safeway as well. And the next time I'm there, I will talk to the manager, as I hope everyone else does, that there's a lot they can do to create an environment that sets a standard of safety for our neighbors. I want us to have happy and safe holidays. There's a lot to look forward to in 2021.
Thank you, Councilmember Ellis. Anyone else? Councilmember Richrod.
I'll cue off of what Councilmember Ellis said. And I grew up in a medical family, and my grandma and my mother were both nurses, and my aunt was a professor of biochemistry. And I know a lot about how these things work. And this is not only a virus, it's a novel virus. The human condition has never seen it before. And to kind of talk to what Councilmember Kennedy said, last time I went to Trader Joe's in Olympia, there's one way in. You take the circuitous route down the little trail, and if you try to go in the other way, they stop you and make you go around through the trail. And when you come to the door, you don't get in until if the required, or the total number allowed in the store is in there already. You have to wait until somebody leaves, and you get hand sanitizer before you go in the store. And a mask, if you're not wearing one, they make you put one on right there at the door. So, and that's a store policy. That's not statewide law yet, but maybe talking to, Safeway, and I don't think we should leave out Swanson's and the rest of them. And because what's really bad about this virus is you can be a spreader and not have it. You don't have the disease. You spread the virus, but you don't have the disease. And that's the people we gotta watch out for because they don't know. So we all have to protect ourselves. Otherwise, we'll never get out of this. That's it.
Thank you, Councilmember Rich Rod. Anyone else? Well, I would just like to say Merry Christmas, everyone. I hope
On
you
top
all
of
have
all
a
that
great,
other stuff.
hope you all have a great Christmas, and won't see each other again till after the holiday. So make sure you leave cookies and milk out for Santa.
Maybe cookies and bourbon.
All right.
I
So
move we adjourn. Are we ready?
Second.
motion's made and seconded to adjourn. Unless there's any objection, I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you.
Merry Christmas,
Merry
everyone.
Christmas.
Thank you, everybody. Merry Christmas.
Have a great holiday.
Stay healthy.